Alright, so next we are going to have a look on how we could increase the level of aggregate supply in the economy. Okay, so for supply management, there is no specific policy like demand management. So under demand management, we have fiscal and also monetary policy. But for supply management, we don't have specific policies. The name itself, we call it policies, supply management policies, whereby we can implement a few ideas or approaches in increasing the level of the supply or methods. All right, so there are a few ideas that we can consider in improving the level of the supply in the economy. So generally, all the ideas that I'm going to explain after this, the main objective of implementing those ideas is we are trying to motivate the workers, the workforce. Okay, remember one of the component of economies is supply or is consumer. Okay, you can produce demand at the same time you can produce supply. Okay, in the form of supply you can contribute your skills, means that if you if you keep working indirectly you will boost the aggregate demand in the economy, the aggregate supply in the economy. So objektif dia kita nak motivate workers. We are going to find ideas that can motivate workers to work harder, okay, to sustain workers, okay, as long as possible in our organization. Okay, we don't want people to quit and move to other job and etc. Okay, so the first idea that I'm going to explain is about income tax cuts. Okay, of course, all of you didn't have to pay income tax yet. You're going to pay income tax when you are start working later on, but it's not directly government will charge tax from you. Okay, there is a basic rules. For example, like you must at least your annual income must at least, I think your monthly income must be at least 400,000 and above before you being asked to pay for income tax. If less than 4,000 ringgit, you don't have for income tax, but you have to declare. Okay, so income tax will be charged to individual and also to the firms as well. Okay, adalah tax yang kena bayar. Okay, corporate tax, income tax for business, income tax for individual. Okay, so normally the government will charge basically 21% for individual income. Okay, so not 20%, 25%, 21% directly will be minus from will be multiplied for your annual income, then the amount you have to pay. Because of course there is assumption, ada pengecualian when you want to pay income tax. The assumption, for example, if you buy any gadgets, okay, you ada wifi, okay, you pay for wifi, sports punya attire, equipment, ada pengecualian, insurance, zakat, of course. And if you married, you have a son, okay, ada dia punya ada pengecualian, alright, setiap anak berapa ribu dan sebagainya. Okay, if ada parents yang sakit critical and so on, of course there is assumption. Okay, after you deduct all the assumption that has been listed in the LHDN, okay, lembaga hasil punya database website and so on, and then there is a balance, and the balance tu lah yang akan times 21%. So berapa kena bayar, ataupun maybe ada some macam government servant, they practice PCB, okay, they cut your salaries every month, okay, to pay income tax. At the end of the year, kalau terlebih bayar dia akan pulang balik, if kurang you have to top up lah, tak adalah selepuk kata 3,000 you kena bayar 3,000 directly. So itu government lah. Maybe some of private sector also practice like that. They will deduct from your salaries every month, so that at the end of the year you tak perlu bayar satu jumlah yang besar. Okay, so when we reduce income tax, indirectly your spending power will be increased. Okay, so that's the demand side. But at the supply side, indirectly you as a worker, you will tend to work harder. Okay, because if if your boss asks you to work overtime and to gain extra income and so on, you don't have much patience, because you know that income tax at the end of the year dah kurang, so tak perlu bayar banyak, so we can gain more income, so you can more productive when you work, so you can produce more into the supply in the economy. So that's theoretically punya impact lah. Okay, when you reduce income tax, you will motivate workers to work harder. Okay, so that's the first ideas that we can use. The second one is about decreasing structural and frictional unemployment. Okay, firstly, we focus on structural unemployment. What is structural unemployment? Okay, structural unemployment is people who are out of job and they don't have other skills to work in other industries. Okay, for example, like you will be working with the construction industry for 20 years. You only have skills to work in construction industry. So suddenly after 20 years, construction industry in Malaysia collapse. Tak ada job, tak ada projects. Alright, so you don't have any skills to work in other industries. Okay, that's problematic. So you out of work. Okay, so bila tak kerja, you tak boleh contribute. So we need to decrease that structural unemployment. People yang tak ada skill. So the government have done a lot. They provide, as you can see in the notes, I attach one newspaper cutting. Ministry of Human Resource have provided a lot of training programs. Okay, at the end of the training, the jobs for you to get. Okay, for example, like if I'm mistaken, a few years ago they buat training untuk pemandu pelancong dan sebagainya. So they have to focus on the current needs of the economy. Apa kekosongan yang ada dalam ekonomi, so that you ada kemahiran lain untuk bekerja. Okay, so that's structural unemployment. Meanwhile, frictional unemployment is people who are moving between jobs. Okay, you ada kerja, you ada permintaan, peluang banyak, tapi suka berpindah kerja. Okay, there is not a problem for you to move between jobs, tak ada masalah. Okay, but the problem is when you move between jobs, you takes time. Okay, let's say at the end of this month you berhenti. Okay, relax dulu 2-3 bulan. Okay, sebab gaji tak habis lagi dan sebagainya. Okay, nak relax, nak bercuti dan sebagainya. If you decided to take a break for 3 months, secara tak langsung 3 months tu tenaga kerja berkurang dalam ekonomi. Okay, so that's the impact. So what we can do in order to decrease the frictional unemployment ni, of course the companies to improve their bureaucratic procedures. Tak make it difficult for people to move between jobs. Nak berhenti kerja boleh, tapi ada syarat, kena notice 3 bulan. Okay, maybe the boss can counter offer. Alright, okay, if you say why you want to quit, I got a better salary from other company. How much they offer you? 10,000. Okay, up to 15,000, for example, like that. So you can sustain your workers in your organization as long as possible. Okay, that's decreasing structural and frictional unemployment. Okay, meanwhile, about grants and subsidies, this is also one of the way we can use in order to sustain workers in the organization. Okay, for example, like in public sectors, in government agencies, okay, in government practice, okay, how they can sustain workers among the government servant. Okay, of course, some of the government servant are very attractive to work in the private sector because of salaries and so on. Most of people love to work in the government sector because of security, job security. Alright, so one of the way the government can do is that by providing contract base. Okay, for example, like in academic institution, they send their staff, government lecturers, okay, from IPTA to further studies. Okay, like myself, I did my PhD overseas and so on. Okay, they sponsor everything, and at the same time they provide contract for example 6 years or 7 years. So it means that after you finish your study, you cannot go anywhere for 6 to 7 years. If you want to move to private sector, for example, you have to pay whatever government have sponsor you. So that's one of the example on how we can sustain workers in the government sector. Private sector also have done just like what the government has did. Okay, most of big companies especially, they offer scholarship for their staff to further study, doing degree or masters. Okay, so when they sponsor you, they will provide you a contract. Okay, you cannot go anywhere for 2 or 3 years. Maybe some companies send you to trainings to upgrade your skills. Okay, training for using a BIM, for example. Okay, the company spend a lot of ringgit, 1,000 ringgit for you to get the BIM certificate. Alright, so at the end of the day, okay, company tie you a contract for 1 year, for example, training to overseas or whatever. Okay, that's one of the way we can sustain workers in our organization as long as possible. Okay. Alright, these three is normally being used in and widely being used in Malaysia. Okay, the first three ni. Okay, the next three ni ada tapi kurang diguna pakai. Yang pertama, which is the next one, is decreasing the power of trade unions. Okay, trade unions ni adalah kesatuan pekerja. Okay, Malaysia, for example, for government servant, we have QPAX. Pernah dengar QPAX? Untuk private sector, if I'm not mistaken, MTUC kot. Okay, every scope of every profession in Malaysia, they have their own trade unions. Okay, pemandu taksi ada trade unions, bankers, guru-guru, okay, teachers, okay, even UiTM staff also, they have their own trade unions. Okay, why trade union, if they are too powerful, is very dangerous to the economy. Okay, I give you one example. If the trade union is very powerful, okay, for example, like trade unions of bankers in Malaysia. Okay, if the leader of the bankers in Malaysia said that, okay, tomorrow we didn't go to work, okay, so what will happen to our economy? It happened in US, I think a few years ago. The economy in US collapsed for almost, I think, 2 weeks, because the banking system in their country didn't want to work, didn't go to work, because they are tak puati on certain area lah. Okay, so that's the dangerous of trade union if they are too powerful. But in Malaysia, our trade union is not that powerful. Okay, kalau diorang ni tak power, dah lah tak power, lepas tu kita nak kurangkan kuasa dia, apa yang tinggal, siapa nak jaga kebajikan kerja-kerja yang ada ni. So we are not go up to that level. Okay, particularly in some of developed countries whereby their trade union are very powerful. So kat Malaysia ni kita belum sampai tahap tu lagi. Okay, ada trade union tapi not that powerful. But we have to monitor that trade union. Okay, kita tak nak dia too powerful. Alright, in terms of reducing unemployment benefits, okay, yang ini kat Malaysia, I can say ada, but more on one-off, okay, compared to other countries, okay, whereby they offer unemployment benefits to their employer, is some sort like insurance, whereby if you are becoming unemployed, bila tiba-tiba company you buang you, okay, bankrupt dan sebagainya, you are going to be paid until you get a new job. Macam tu saya pun nak, okay, tak kerja, duduk rumah dapat duit sampailah dapat kerja baru. So because of that kan, dah dapat, tak kerja tak dapat duit, tak bekerja dapat duit, siapa nak cari kerja kan. So kat Malaysia, I think we didn't practice like that. Okay, apa yang normally in Malaysia, what we practice is more on one-off payment. Okay, whereby if the company close down, they're going to pay in the form of lump sum. Okay, macam BSS punya scheme. Okay, dia tengok berapa lama you bekerja dalam company tu, the longer you work, the more you can get lah. Makin lama you kerja, makin banyak you dapat. So dia akan tengok pada company punya policies lah. Okay, itu kat Malaysia ada, yes. Okay, so of course tak adalah macam negara lain yang even ada certain countries the unemployed people, penganggur pun ada dapat allowance. Okay, especially for example like in UK, okay, they pay allowance for penganggur. Okay. And the last one, the ideas that we can use in order to increase the level of supply is what we call it as a profit sharing scheme. Okay, profit sharing scheme ni ada practice kat Malaysia, especially when the company gain profit, they will give you bonus. Okay, indirectly when you get bonus, you'll be more motivated. Okay, it's a influencing factor for you to work harder. Okay, it's normal. Okay, government servant dia yang tak berapa nasib baik lah nak dapat bonus tu, tak berapa ada. Okay, but private sector especially, they will give you a lot of bonus if the company is doing well. Okay, for example like Maybank Plus, okay, Petronas, even Petronas, the bonus is up more than 6 months sometimes. Bank Rakyat and so on, so they get a lot of bonus. Okay, and that's the good thing. Okay, but the bad thing about profit sharing scheme ni, of course, when the company get profit, they will share with their employers. Okay, some people will get bonus. Okay, but the problem is bila company rugi, dia akan potong gaji. Okay, kat Malaysia I think ada, tapi very rare cases lah. Okay, especially as a contractors. Okay, if you contractors loss, dia bukan tak bayar gaji. Okay, dia akan delay your salaries lah, akan delay bayar gaji sampai 2-3 bulan, kadang-kadang bayar lambat dan sebagainya, kadang bayar half dulu dan sebagainya. Okay, indirectly they are saying, okay, company tengah rugi, so kita tak boleh bayar your full payment. Okay, so ada practice tapi kurang lah kat Malaysia. So that's 6 idea yang we can implement in order to improve the level of aggregate supply in the economy. So again, as I mentioned earlier, the idea is more on focusing on how we can motivate workers and how we can sustain workers in the organization. Okay, so I think that's all for lecture 6. Okay, we have done on part A. There is no more lecture on part A. So we have another class next one this week, but I will provide slot for you to ask anything about what we have learned on part A later on. I will give a specific time later on lah in the WhatsApp group. Okay, so for the time being, let's enjoy this lecture 6. Watch all the videos. I will open Q&A for discussion later. Okay, so that's all. Thank you. Stay safe. Stay at home. Assalamualaikum.